It's been a kind of rough few weeks, and since the 30th of March, I have been thinking very much about Robert Creeley, who died on that day. And Creeley was somebody who I have always felt close to. I've never tried to write like him. Allen Ginsberg once told me that he, Allen Ginsberg, often tried to think through and write through his friend's mind. So he'd write a Creeley poem, or he'd write a Robert Kelly poem, something of that order. I was never thinking of it that way, but very often I've thought, what would Creeley think now in this situation? How would Bob respond to this? So in that sense, he was a major figure for me, both as a writer and as a friend, as a human being with whom I had the pleasure of spending a fair amount of time, both here and in Europe. So I want to start by just reading a couple of Creeley poems. Place. Your face in mind, slow love, slow growing, slow to learn enough. Patience to learn to be here, to savor whatever there is out there without you, here, by myself. A little poem that he wrote for Carl Rakoczy, another poet, whose longevity was immense. He died at 100 a year or so ago. East Street again, for Carl Rakoczy. The tree stands clear in the weather by the telephone pole, its stiff brother. Hard to think which is the better, given living is what we're here for, and that one's soon dead no matter. Neither people nor trees live forever, but it's a dumb thought, lacking other. Only this passing faint snow now for tether, mind's deadness, emptiness for pleasure. If such a flat, faint echo can be measured, so much is forgotten no matter. You do what you can do, no better. For Bob. Now, as I'm reading others, I thought that given that yesterday I talked a lot about Paul Celan, but only kind of used two little poems of his, I like to read a few poems of Celan in my translation. That's from the book that's just out. Here's a pitch to the crowd. Paul Celan Selections, University of California Press, came out officially a month ago on the 1st of March. And I'll read a little section of poems, a little cycle from very late on. It is known as, also Celan didn't give it that title, the Jerusalem poems, the Jerusalem cycle, because he wrote those on his last trip in fall of '69 to Israel, to Jerusalem. And I thought that would be appropriate for in relation, for rhyming with yesterday's lecture. They are contained in the volume called Zeitgehöft, or Time Halo. Almonding you, who only half spoke, yet was trembled from the seed on up. You I let wait, you, and was not yet uneyed, as yet unthorned in the constellation of the song that begins star, the song that begins Hashnisini. It stood on your lip, the fig splinter. It stood around us, Jerusalem. It stood above the Dane ship, the bright fur scent. We thanked it. I stood in you. That goes to what I was talking about yesterday very much, the stands of Celan. The swelter adds us up in the ass's bray before Absalom's tomb. Here too, Gethsemane. Over there, the outflanked, whom does it bury? At the nearest gate, nothing opens. Above you, open one, I carry you towards me. We who like the Sioux guard in Ve Avivim. The unkissed stone of a complaint swells up before fulfillment. It palpates our mouths. It crosses over to us, alloyed to us in its whiteness. We hand ourselves on to you and to me. Night, be careful. The sand commanded is strict with us too. A ring for bow drawing, loosed after the word swarm that found us behind the world with the starlings. Arrowy one, when you whir towards me, I know from where, I forget from where. The radiance, yes, the one that Abu Tor saw riding towards us when we orphaned into each other for life, not only up from the wrists. A gold boy from temple depth surveyed the danger that slyly underlay us. Nitidus you, tumor daughter of a blinding in the cosmos, seized by supra-celestial search troops, shunted into the seeing, God-waving, star-heap blue. You turn gamey before our hungry, immovable pause. And also, sun, between two bright shots, abyss. Come, make the world mean with yourself. Come, let me fill you up with all that's mine. One with you I am, to capture us, even now. Okay. I'm getting rid of the book relatively fast, as you can see, so I've not only worked on French, German, and so on, but another great interest of mine has always been North African and literature and Arabic literature and so on. So I'll read kind of a few texts from Poesis. That's the P-O-A-S-I-S, Poesis, that has in it oasis, poet, something. As is, or as somebody said, tel quel in French. So it has a lot in there. And the first work is called the work of Al-Ishq. It's dedicated to Jacques Roubaud, and Al-Ishq comes as a term from Arabic poetry, love poetry, and it deals with the troubadour moment. By the way, troubadour is always given in our northern white culture as a Latin root, trobar. If you check it out, it doesn't exist. It always has an etymological dictionary as a little star, meaning unattested. The root of trobar is the Arab word for song. So even our original lyric, supposedly going back to that region, came from elsewhere. Everything comes from elsewhere. The work of Al-Ishq to Jacques Roubaud. The work of Al-Ishq goes back to our earliest lyric forms and via Arab treatises on Greek medicine, revisited by Byzantium, reaches Provenza, so that Guillaume de Fos of Aquitaine ferait un vers de Drietnien, will make a poem of pure nothingness. For nothingness is the shadow of love, and the steps of Al-Ishq are as follows. The first is called approbation. This stage is reinforced slowly as the patient reminds himself of the beauties and qualities of his love. This leads to the stage of affection, which, reinforcing itself through seeing and hearing, becomes passion. We are now already in the al-ishq, where the imagination of the one who loves is never free of the object, and where contemplation and memory of the object of his love never leave his thoughts and mind. The mind is diverted from its role of directing the energies of the body, and the lover is kept from taking food and drink, as well as from thinking, remembering, imagining, and sleeping. And passion then becomes folie d'amour, and in that state there is no room left in the lover's mind for anything else than the image of his love. And if this state perdures, it becomes the stupefaction of love, which cannot be healed, in which the very nature of the lover is changed, where nothing more can be done. He talks to himself. He doesn't know what he says or where he goes. Physicians can no longer help him. I composed it while sleeping on a horse, says Guillaume. Don't know the hour of my birth, am neither gay nor sad, neither wild nor tame, can't be any other way. Gifted at night by a fairy on a high mountain, and I don't know if I'm asleep or awake unless I'm told. I've made this verse I know not what with, and will transmit it to someone who'll transmit it to someone else all the way to Poitiers, so that he may send from his pouch the counter key. Al-ishq, she marveled last night, that dis-ease of passion, that illness unto death, assembles all those Arab letters so difficult to pronounce for a European. Consonant clusters I can't get my mouth around. They stick in the throat, they gag your life. That you, clearly, you and I. Oh, give us vowels, melodies, sweet water to flow between hard rock. Make it an inhabitable landscape. Give it also a winter, so that there may be a spring up La Dolcor, where birds green the boughs from Arabia Deserta to Provenza. I follow my reading, a camel sensing water, a season ahead, like spring, month ahead. I sense in today's skies, inhospitable, icy blue. There's a hospitable, icy blue out there today. But it is blue. I read some extracts from a work called Turbulence, as we're under weather. Critical transformations talk about weather, hominids out of a drier Pliocene, forest withdrawal, sudden wide vistas, a savannah niche, the past shrinks to first symbol, meager clump of trees, that's it for 1.5 million, stasis under clear skies, a silent sun. Then ice and an urge called culture. Climactic change opens new vistas. The clump of trees shrinks into the brain, molded trunks bridge hemisphere gap, hands hot up, twirling sticks sparks a younger night. The bright fire behind the eyes, back to elephant graveyard of time, convexed out, a smile remembered to remember, brain trace notched on universe. The universe down now on incised bone. Reversal is the movement of Tao. After stasis, change. Bring color to cheeks. The weather does change. Shove bone scepter in girdle. Clouds over the moon. Slain deer shoulder blade. Cracks in fire. Memory remembers to look forward. Cracks in the sky. Know it in your bones. One moment earlier, something had deviated. Moving obliquely. This is local fortuity, declinement exactly, and more exactly, deviation from equilibrium. The incline, the streak of lightning, bars the clouds. Immediately a shape happens, roughly and circular. No need for more. A little hole around which people gather like bees. A dead body at center. A world where accident is rule. Begin here, in the middle, by the smallest angle. Deviation begins. Be gone, get off the road. What road? When at the beginning all directions are equivalent. Begin again in the heart of the city. I is born. The sign reads, toute direction, points one way only. I is born at the smallest angle, gives a slide, the fastest slide down, direction born side by side. And the laminary flow at the edge of the city, that is all heart, meets you turbulence. The cyclone elsewhere savages, the neatly circular geography, the Caribbean and Yucatan, Brownsville, Texas. The eye will come ashore in 4 hours. Polyphemus? We are read by the eye we cannot read, the stars obscured we hide in the false pride of old calculations. But the world is run by meteorology, the world as cloud, not chambered, depression and anticyclone. From west to east is movement. A shift northward ruffles our well-combed hair. Air pressure, relative humidity, absolute rigidity. The sun only rises and sets, rises and sets, rises and sets. Farther, farther, yes, I will marry your daughter Turbulence. As we're close to the philosophy department, the next section comes from that man in Königsberg, Mr. Kant himself. The true condition is not law of stars, astronomy, clear summer skies, the subject fixed in the middle, the spectacle of stars for practical reasons, with moral, mortal law in its heart. But the spare of a cloudy night over Königsberg, the depressions over the Atlantic moving west to east towards Russia, low ceiling, nimbus, end of the world. How will you reason that one out, Emmanuel? Loved by God, yes, the law, but what we can't know, that moral way, is what we live by. Not galaxies, stars, planets as objects in space, but atmospheric disturbances, meteorological conditions, low ceiling, nimbus, end of the world. Cyclone and anticyclone, air pressure and relative humidity precede the rising and setting of sun and moon. Thus precedes celestial mechanics. First Aphrodite out of foam, a turbulence, cyclone and anticyclone, my woman, the human. Where Wiener, that's no but Wiener. Where Wiener was at the time, I don't know. Published 1947, Paris, a work written in English, prefaced by himself in Mexico. Begins with the weather conditions in Boston, announced for January 17, 1950. It is since the times of the nomads, when it was necessary to remember the location of the pasturing grounds, that the importance of the place where one is has been exaggerated. A little German song, Weißt du wie viel Sternlein stehen, introduces cybernetics. A nurse from Berlin teaches the song. A town translates it as Attila's Bridge, early 50s. Where Wiener was at the time, I don't know. Do you know how many stars? In Vienna, pedestrians form nebulous cordons. His only weather in the mail today. Back in Vienna, temperature relations. A cold front, August 1913. Pedestrians form nebulous curtains. Vienna as cloud, particles that move. No fixed center, a man without qualities, walking to school, a big black dog, a whispered name, a city with Buddha and plague, particles that move, a little German song, walking to school, clouds parade by, nur Gott der Herr could count them. And move further to a sequence of poems called Lemur Mornings, which I have a tendency to want to pronounce Lemur, but there's lovely animals, right? Lemurs. And this is a sequence of poems that came in one of those most surprising ways, where you get up in the morning and you're in somebody else's house. So the daily circumstance is completely other. Now staying with Jerome Rothenberg, in Encinitas, California. And so for 4 or 5 mornings, every time I got up, I wrote one of these, and I have no clue where they came from. So they're still interesting for me to read because I don't know them. First Lemur Morning. Caught May in coattails, Aztec drudge goddess, pianola payback hogs, these last testamentary folds, quadrants drive and divide, blindfold trees, new Greenwich, acres the ford, uptime brought to you, carries over the noise, the disc monthly, Microsoft conjunction, smudge the stellar meals, the spillover, a major backup snuggles, close and wet and warm, child's play, a haystack, shoves a needle home, carry over from winter, tour yakking on the frozen tundra, radioactivated mink coats coatly cued, the last remnants of a charred social class, filter-tipped ideation in translation makes for yo-yo practice, the built-in hydrant glosses time and an aside to the word over in another language at least wakes up the palm tree to be read as summer progresses in increments of overlord despair you buy into wartime journalism like the last soft animal rushing for a stereo-visioned cliffhanger with roaring lion rampart and 902 characters from a dismal font create advice columns, prepackaged page, cuts the eager beaver, concatenation heals of all real health, the bomber pilot with the natural yogurt face, Vaselines his way out from above as strange dividers claim footnote privilege of know-how, while the structure of complex words harbors antinomies of real desire that remain unexpressed in the dentist's assistant's telephone voice, but we will know we will meet in another Lemur morning. Second Lemur Morning. The wall at dawn, laid by hand, semicircular, a bird bath, sounds no ghosts here, boast radio contact on reveille, end of world, trumps dawn, the suits are either polyester or the old familiar clubs, diamonds, in strange ascending numbers, 167, 168, 169, 170, scratch the surface and the symbols, heart-conditioned, shampoos your hands, pulling at the black threads that fasten your gums to the rising coin, throbs randomly pulled in by rapports like valleys around the eye, limits, invaginating the self, obscure surf put into play when we least expect her, better live in the belly of the beasts and under its thumb, world is a difficult word to pronounce, balloon in the morning sky, the arrow points left, goes all around it, the unattainable, the unworking and flowering grasses, a whale watch, whatever comes, clauses, Laredo bumps, toothaches, the unhealing gums, the radio voice surrounds Panama, Peking, wish you were here still to witness another May, Abbey, the apostrophe, apostles thereof smell furry creatures soft and dead off the coast of Africa at the extreme limits of passion, time and space. It is only a step from palace to schizophrenia. Those blue myths fill in the line. Seventh Lemur Morning. The omnium divvied into threes, the syntax of all single-minded political arrogance, Caesaric cut or Christic cup, eyes stray, try escape, resistance to stablest structure, stray bullets, escape soft furry matter, all our ghosts voicing anguish trumped by trigonometry, Idaho release along prevailing outward winds, iodine 131, 6 million curies, dispose and dilute, idiot savants, criminal law, no toehold, a giant sloth around our throats, get rid of image, défense d'afficher, the pleasure of writing physical typographies at the edge of our bodies, incised on bone, the deathbed of the species, my microchipped cave, fond fonts, zoning it in hypertext, precipitate out the terror of the simulacrum, a law of transgression, the only human difference, funny bone, somersault, rub it in to the dark round eyes of another Lemur morning. And the last one of those, eighth Lemur morning. Tanit's back caught here, Our Lady of Immediate Consumption. Handheld plants counted dead, the news knoweth not, fern shade, the distant lower overhead, the helicopter levels, fuchsia your way in a possum for a change, invests the conversation with conquet homologies, as if to avoid prosimian homilies, writing grounds itself and runs to earth. Here the mockingbird, and written upon strips of white cloth, lapping heads, a desperate run, Peking man mowed down outside Hotel Beijing, soft furry desk, blue balloon in sky, neighbor's chainsaw draws a bead, we harbor resentment, the boat of language, or Anubis, the rhythm is or pull, heave to, languorous validates the seasoned palm, fronds, high hands, the mighty desire, Rorschach, fruit of their demise on Elm Street. Careful now, reassert social insertion, vocables of homoglossia, a speech defect, cantankerous. The month, the attempt needs a certain speed, cantilevers against what comes to mind. No questions asked, this Lemur morning. Strange, there's an Elm Street in there. I've just moved to Elm Street. So whatever the poem always knows best and way ahead of time. A bit of water. The things demand very fast moves. And it's the way they run down the page, so you got to follow. It's another one that also goes down the page kind of quickly, but it's not as fast. It's more leisurely. And I started reading it because yesterday we talked a bit about Hölderlin and so on, and Hölderlin appears somehow in this poem. It's called Goose Feet. The feet, not the cackle of geese. Between the bed and the newspaper, I am played along the interface of someone else's dream and heard to say, Patmos is on the level of the judgmental. To know what you mean with my words, interface of you and I, careful morning, medal of gold or better d'oro, Italian coffee, and medley of birdsong and names unknown. I know the Eastern ones had hardly learned them when I came west, is what I said yesterday. And in this writing now, there are two things said between what I once called Gänsefüßchen, German for quotes. In French, the fine lines around the eyes give the age of our gaze. These lines now marshaled into this morning's text, quotes as Brescia. Potted plants need water of exegesis in this dry climate. I climb up the tower by the river where Hölderlin has now been living these 150 years. Palaksh, untranslatable, status of Goose Feet. Stir your coffee with the back of the pen, stir up minds with the back of the dream. Brot und Café, this morning a clutch of friends, a gaggle of geese. Friedrich, who no longer claims to be a renegade, Italian, but trots out the gods of his pantheon in new and unheard of ways. I refuse to pass judgment. I have brought him today's newspaper from Southern California. What interests him most is the picture with the palm tree. There's another déjà vu play called Uninvited. He says, having now taken on the guise of a wise 9-year-old, holds forth on ghost games. It is not the dark scares me, it is only the undead. The distance they have to travel for us to reach them. It is hours later already. We are breakfasted, and the tower by the river a ghost now. So the question remains, for they are far the gods, and all the myths are mixed up. It is an Ewe bone idol fashioned from Zeus's thigh bone, now holds the fountain pen poised to segue to neighborhood sounds like one piece of plywood, the rest goes in the truck, of no possible use. Too pointed a message from the carpenter. So carpenters be esteemed. One made life possible for Hölderlin in his tower, from whence he looks down, or I look out of, he by his river, me by the rented pool. Different modalities of water, but water all the same. The tower and water is road and moat, is where the gods play, defying surface tensions, draining the animal forms into the human. Stumble on the last word. That's terrible. Another kind of dream type poem. Long after dreaming of a flounder, The distances are this much now. Open both arms, hold out hands, this wide like fishermen or children describing their catch. But the catch was in the coming across at long last and undated, the lost notation of a forgotten dream, found now at arm's length, where arm can be and is month upon month, half year or whatever measures forfeited song, mouth upon mouth. As for love of a fish, I didn't go into the water, but stayed in the dream, a flounder in my arms, changing color from sea green to earth brown. Even there I was perplexed as I'm now as to the when, but who is to say, how can you fall in love with a fish? There was beauty, yes, and sexiness. The lips were those of young Allen Ginsberg. At this distance, I do not remember the feel as I carried the flounder in my arms, walked eye in eye towards the sink. What was I thinking? What did a fish stand for, if not itself? A novelistic flounder from North Germany, or a symbolon for a flat earth theory I could indeed be in love with? Turned on the tap that woke me from what unspeakable act? Kind of enjoying reading into these, and I should actually move on, but I want to read a couple more here. So that was dream, and this one is about sleeping, really. Is it me sleeping in this writing, or is it I sleeping in the reading of the man... Let me start again. Is it me sleeping in this writing, or is it I sleeping in the reading of the man sleeping? The poem my friend gave me for my birthday, is this another roadside sign attracting onlookers after man working becomes just man? That sleepwalking singular sleeping, is that a singular man or a singular sleep? A singing, lilting line would put anybody or thing, even sleep, to sleep. How does sleep sleep, if it does? I was awake all night thinking about what Poe said in the case of Mr. Valdemars, where the facts are different. Yes, no, I have been sleeping, and now I am dead and not sleeping. I watched sleep leave or not come back. You asked me if my eyes were open. They were, but only for dreams roadkill. And the last one from there, in a way, as a little piece about the confusion of my languages. My mouth knows a language my hand and eye cannot imitate. The mother tongue there only as phone, as phony. Though this sound rhyme be phony etymology, the fake, the counterfeit song arising from Old Irish, Irish Gaelic, phony, in which a small counterfeit deer hides, quote, a gilt brass ring used by swindlers. The book does not tell me how to use a phony, nor if it was a nose ring, as for cattle, or a marriage ring, a token of exchange, a useless ring except for the purported value of its metal, and counterfeit in that. So the real root of phone, sound, voice, is Indo-European ba, too, which gives a list, fable, fate, infant, preface, prophet, abandon, banish, bandit, fame, phono, symphony, confess, and, not and, but blame, end of list. And while on American classics, gravelly Joe Cotton tells the girl with the glycerine tears, I was a lot of things, a gambler, a thief, a phony, another list, while here the search goes on, the phony origins downloaded days later, searching a CIA database, gathered intelligence for Luxembourg and got this ethnic divisions. Celtic base with French and German blend, like rich coffee, except whiter, and the language other. How are we doing here? We're doing... okay. I'll go to one more translation. Over a number of years, Jerome Rothenberg and I translated the writings of Pablo Picasso. And they came out late last fall, a book called The Burial of the Count of Orgas and Other Poems. And Picasso really wrote a lot from 1957 until 1935 until 1957, heaps and heaps. In fact, he said to a friend, a statement that was recorded, "Someday, long after I'm dead, the encyclopedia will say, Picasso, Pablo Ruiz, poet who also dabbled in painting." So that's how serious he took it. And then he showed his first poems to Gertrude Stein. And Gertrude Stein says, "You may not do this. I am the poet. You're the painter. That's the way the world is divided." And he said, "I do what I want." And so their friendship broke up. She refused. She never talked to him again. So here are two poems. He only doesn't give titles, just dates them. So these are from the 12th and the 19th of February 1938. Accurate representation engraved on the grain of sand of the raindrop silence this afternoon of emptiness, on the laundry laid out on its feather bed of a wax figure imitating a child at the edge of a river having fun with a prunus branch teasing two beetles. She sits on potato peels on the sink of her shadow, reflecting on the hairy back of the marble hand, reproducing the image accurately molded from the imprint of the foot of the chicken wing, singing far away in the oat field, curled up on the portrait of the cat, molten into the wax of the ink dish's corner, sheltered under the left arm of the armchair, blue, wetting the large loaf's crumb, biting its fleas. And I want to tell you the boredom, the joy, the songs and the laughter at the wind's colic of love, climbing up the rungs of the ladder, playing at knucklebones, at trundling hoops, jumping rope, playing hopscotch, freeze tag, playing knife, playing numbers, old sun, torn by scabies, shivering and freezing, covered with snow, hidden under the closet, licking its wounds, hand held out, begging for alms, plus 327 meters of cotton cloth, 3870250, and 300 pleasantly warm dinner rolls, butter, carrots, oil, 6 chairs, a sideboard, a kitchen table, coal, garbanzos, bacon, a drum, its sticks, old newspaper, brushes, a meter of hail, a bucket, a caged bed, a gallows, the executioner of wounds and sores, and a cloth brush, a dog, an old woman delousing herself, a tree, and a huge mirror in the middle of the kitchen reflecting a battle, 2 horsemen attacking each other with lances covered in sweat and blood, another one is horse wounded, dead on the ground, and the spectators clapping on the table covered with a wax cloth, the wine spilled on it, flowing over the floorboards, grabbing onto the window panes, tearing the nails of the light, of the wolf trap, of the dress, wrapping it up completely in its chains, and children's screams. That was the first one. Here's the second one. I once tried to learn to play the saxophone, and had I really done that well and I could do circular breathing, these poems would come much easier. I could actually run them up to not the speed VVV, as André Breton said, but what I would call the speed Tom Rayworth. And by a tar-painted boat cut from the frame, the detailed description of the events of the month, days, hours, of the plus and the minus, and of the garlic sauces with marshmallows, with peppers, and with caresses on the naked trunk of the morning air of this burning day, finally chopping the edges of the handkerchief of the sky spread out to dry on clouds, flowing through the slits of closed shutters, the snails of the mayonnaise of petrified light, dirtying happiness with the licks of its tongue on the furniture, stretching, woken up by the bell's ears, budding branches shooting out, covering themselves with leaves, flowers giving fruit, poisonous birds biting into silver pieces, ointment covering the wounds, opened by the colors of the rainbow, assassinating the milk jar, hidden on the shadow of the oh-so-sour wind's open fan of the rope beating the window pane, thick mattress of buzzing bees slit open by the horn of the liquid cockcrow, burning, falling drop by drop from the filter of the curtain's raised saddle stitch on the azure triangle planted on the lemon larded with the flames of the 1,390 and 100-colored streamers, eyes fixed on the floor. But don't get up, be all ears, won't
You won't leave without having a little something. Don't say another word and count the steps of this dance. You must have fun, be happy, truly. Will you have to have your belly tickled to make you laugh? If you don't like entrails, you'll be served anal fish bones, well peeled and washed in almond water. Throw in a little starch, butter, a peppercorn, salt, flour, 4 dried figs, a quarter of well degreased bacon, shallots, black pudding, a cuttlebone, a bag of coal, 2 melons, and the price of a countryside rest home. Bring to a boil over a low fire, hit it with a large hammer, and piss all around it for an hour, and don't give it time to sigh. Let it crust over and scratch the skin until it bleeds. Now serve half cold in dreadful weather on gloves of freezing horsehair. There's 400 pages like that. Okay. Let me go here. Well, as this was a collaboration with Jerome, my old soulmate, he did the translation from the Spanish, and I did those from French, and we also invited in a number of poet friends who did a few pages each, Anselm Hollow, Anne Waldman, Jason Wise, Robert Kelly, about a dozen of them. So it's a fun book. But this is a little sequence of poems I wrote for Jerry Rothenberg's 70th birthday. And they're called the Rothenberg Variations, which is, of course, a ripoff because Jerry has a book called the Loka Variations. But the way the poems were written is... do I say it? Yeah. These poems are composed following a détourné +7 method. You know, the surrealist way of the +7, taking a given text, and then looking up each word in the dictionary, and then going 7 words further on and creating a new text out of, is that. So this uses a kind of détourné +7 method. Each poem is based on word material, each 7th word of the first 15 poems in Jerome Rothenberg's first and latest books. The arrangement is my own, as are the excisions, additions, subtractions, and divisions. I will be a formalist, but only if I can do what I want. Rothenberg Variation number 1. Where sun still black, fish smells us in the long city, at large in the wound of your curving vagina. The wind crickets knew you, the stolen cavity, wrapped heads splitting poison gills, drew blood, a sad white heart, fully there, searching paradise. Rothenberg Variation 2. And a cry neighbors there, but he comes, my fish comes, emptied the death of light. They crust the lie. A fish comes, cracks the hole, hands disrupted by a spider grew out of air, moon, blood. We roof, we cold, what scraping, where dead soldiers looked, was dark, my bed, my icicle. Rothenberg Variation number 3. Old legs and fish, terraces behind mountains, how to be mountains. He thinks it's all up. I acts like overnight vase. Your 2 strides. Something. Lilies, cigars, asters, single out graves. No, granite movement flowers, but bronze flowers hidden in stone. Rothenberg Variation number 4. Everything gives as horses give a language, a town gives tigers, a scarf gives voice, a church even gives heart things. No, a thunderbolt on a fish who quakes and raises us, pursuing hard things, away, even a language, out-hinged, but away. Number 5. Dead under skyward temples, man be water, through eye branches, trembling bloodroot, forehead to sea, Christ, be eyelash, her heart, that blood in silence on candlestick. 6. Like daytime stone with grass words, have been constant, like tin dropped and rendered, have stood under and unmasked when my tears, my forest coffin with burning wind comes seeking the star. Spins his Germany, her past forms, she buries the constant. Comes up, comes a crease, the love night, finest down, you are rolled in. And again your wings of I, brakemen, conductors, ego, eyes, now eyes. I'll jump around a bit. 9. Ice hooks, meat hooks, white and black hooks. The air listens, no one sits burning. We are all. The dancer walks on air, whose will raise tresses. We have seen domains he possesses. Listen to what's on tenterhooks, dreams fashioned in meat licking. We sit face to face beneath a dream of mercy towards the sea. Drowns every black hook feeling, a face wandering beneath. Maybe just the last ones in here. No, 12. What a high, hairy hell, both troubled with bigger stein, which wrapped world phantom, iron down now, a silver sky revolving around narrow bedposts, green dead ones, order out some frailty chaos, a work of squalor, princes say to us, numbers, circles, that clock silence once, yet fingers cool. And the last one, sang 1907 loneliness, boldly the ice chameleons, ground teeth, he space with geisha ghosts. We lost a flag, a frog too, but his hat scratching a green doubt, his gang too, all sang, wept, found the babes transforming dates, the left moon, boy moves against him, but by him, of him, speaks sweet Napoleon of freedom, bones transforming. Okay. As you managed to move towards the nomadic when you spoke, and then I should probably read a couple poems from a book called Hajra, which is the Arabic word for exile, going away. It's the word that gives Hijra, that is the exile from Mecca to Medina, or the other way around. It also gives the name Hagar in the Bible, that is the servant of Abraham who he made pregnant with Ishmael, the first American. Call me that, right? It's there. That's Hajar, the Arabic word. That's the title. And actually the title of the book was that tattoo, or rather that tattoo is the title of the book. And the fun was, now in Brooklyn, I walked into a shop the other day, 2 a.m, to get some groceries for the morning, and I held out my hand. The man behind the counter said, Hajar, in Arabic. I said, yeah. I said, exile, I'm going. So let me read a few of those poems. A couple more slow ones there. I've been doing the fast ones a lot. The dream of the desert in the book. 1. The book lies open in all the hallways, in all the oases, in all the dreams, around every corner, behind every sand dune. In this dream, too, you have to add a line.
Your place is between the already written and the unwritten, in the white, empty space. In this dream, Stalin smiled, and Heidegger too. In this dream, cockroaches scuttled from the book, but it had to be written in, despite the smiles. A dream of a book, a dream of a desert in a book, a dream of a desert that runs from the book, a dream of a book and a desert, a dream of a desert in a book, a dream of sand through fingers, a dream of white, a dream of mica, a dream of phoenix, a dream of a desert spilling from the book into and through the hallway and out the door. And a voice said, write in the book, and you will be healed. A voice said, my middle, my voice, my will, write in the book. Write the desert, the dream, write the sand, the white, write the running, dream the book. 2. A dream of Stalin, a dream of Celan, a dream of parents, a dream of houses. In the first house, Celan hides in a closet and Stalin bangs his big boots and stomps over the wooden floor. In the second house, Celan escapes through the back window and Stalin screams and tears at his mustaches. In the third house, we are not. It is full to overflowing with all the parents, everybody's parents, Celan's and Stalin's and mine too. In the fourth house, there is a city in ruins. A moon stands above it. It is white, it is full. It has jebels and wadis on it. It is pouring with sand. Love song. Wind and sand, the red shirt, dunes and shifts. Love calls. In your absence, your presence. I am whole, thus at least 2. We live in between dunes, Bedouins in charge of our coming and going. Birth and death, someone else's charge. Ours, the long in between, i.e. time, as birth and death are not. Not to worry. You had your birth given you. You will be given your death. In between, keep moving. I don't need to read that one this afternoon, Dante. Thanks. Oh, no. That's enough left, you know. God, it's been a heavy couple of years in terms of just the friends, poets dying, many gone. 2 years ago, my God, nearly 3 years now, the English poet Douglas Oliver, I don't know if you know of him, was married to Alice Notley, who had been married before to Ted Berrigan, and Alice is twice widowed from poets, a great poet herself. Douglas was an old friend. We used to sit in Paris talking of foreign affairs journalism. Doug has spent a lot of time writing that, and I spent a lot of time in the third world. So he was the last person with whom I spent complete nights, i.e. we would go out, have dinner, drink, go to cafes, sit, talk, and then wait for the sun to come up, go and have breakfast, and then go home. It was a pleasure, Creeley sense of the company of those you like. You know, company comes from con pan, with bread. It is those with whom you like to break bread. Douglas was certainly that company. And his favorite drink was that wonderful French thing, Calvados. You know Calvados? Yeah. Made out of apples, like a whiskey made from apples. A calm vademecum doze towards a poem for Douglas, finally. Though it starts, last Calvados tear, cried embracing you, knowing this was the long goodbye.
tears of Calvary. No more dawn on Pont Neuf, the new bridge, now the oldest, over a river that is a scene insane. As I run, as I hold the last glass of Calva, poured out now on Paris ground, sop for some imaginary big dog, and yet Lady Lethe didn't get it all. As Darks, which is on the light, title of his last poem, February 10th, 2000, snow lying like a private drift of death. My interest is in the form that death gives our lives. A public heart he wears, in John Donne's phrase, quoted by Denise Riley, and a master of a most demanding poetics. Quote, how shall I write this? By living it. That rule has not changed. You have children. Lose yourself in them. End of quote. Even now, when death, our richest humor, fills with lights, a stress born in time stands outside a minor eternal present, a trembling instant, powerly resisting the flow, the line creates it, its very great fascination. Arrived at this, at that, bouche d'ombre, the descent beckons into memory's hollows and gulfs, metropolitan hautain, through its rebirths of sorts, emerge elsewhere, come up for breath, even if myth, your identity not safe, above or underground. To grind, I groan in dejection, poor Calvados, poor calm vademecum dose, poor Calvary, go with me, calamitous vagrant rhyme, we said and smoked Cuba, sighed Africa, sighted America, vaudeville Tahiti, wept the Maghreb, set the world, neither a right, nor a fire, nor a kimbo, recrossed Pont Neuf, had coffee and croissants at Le Petit Bar, embraced at Metro Gate, shut up the veins of another new morning. We'll meet again just there, I mean here.